Well, Squid Game is back with its final season sooner than we'd expected, and after dropping the first trailer of its final stretch in Arena, the South Korean drama definitely has us on a chokehold, with its blink and you'll miss them details. I mean, I was already worried for the fates of some of my favorite players within the game, but after Season 2's mind-bending ending, and the new trailer for Season 3, the show has been hinting towards an even bleaker future for the players than I had anticipated. Going by that, the final installment of Squid Game will undoubtedly feature many characters' deaths. While there's going to be more spin-offs to this franchise in the future, for now, let's take a gander at 12 insane details we noticed in the last Squid Game trailer. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The trailer introduces a new game, so the trailer gives us a glimpse of one of the new main games, and it's already causing a stir among fans, as they've been pulling their hair while spinning all sorts of theories. Basically, in this round, all the players are seen approaching a gumball machine that randomly dispenses either a red or blue ball. With each player receiving a colored ball from the gumball machine, they're instantly split into two teams without any say in the matter. The randomness of this definitely adds a heavy psychological toll on them, because no one really knows who they'll be up against or alongside. Plus, they have zero control over the outcome. Following this, we catch a quick shot of who gets what. As it turns out, Gihan, Gumja, Namu, and Junho end up with the red balls, while Hyunju, Yongsik, and player 333 get the blue ones. The players are all organized into small groups and wear vests according to the color of the ball they received. Meaning, if you get the red ball, you wear a red vest, and vice versa if you get the blue one. Now, I believe that the red team might have the upper hand, especially since Gihan, the main character, is wearing a red vest and is a part of it. This would automatically mean that the blue team would all be eliminated. So in a way, you could say that the color red symbolizes hope or survival in this particular round, which only adds more weight to what's at stake. Gumja might lose her son, so the trailer for Squid Game 3 also includes a gut-wrenching moment where for a split second we see player 149, Gumja, break down in tears in a completely inconsolable state. It's definitely a very brief scene, but it definitely looks like one of the hard-hitting moments of the trailer. Of course, this has sparked a wave of speculation, as many believe that her heartbreak could be tied to the death of her son, Yongsik. Honestly, for me, the emotional weight of her sobbing feels like more than just fear. It seems to hint at real devastating loss. What's making this even more intense is that Gumja and her son were split up after receiving two different colored balls from the giant gumball machine, thus ending up on opposing teams. That detail alone has led us to fear the worst about how a tragic confrontation between mother and son might be coming our way. And if her breakdown is any clue, the outcome might be exactly as devastating as it looks. In fact, many fans seem to believe that her son might even sacrifice his own life to save his mother's, in a plea to show his gratitude toward everything she's done for him, and to give her a second chance at life. If that happens, I'll probably go through entire boxes of tissues in seconds, because this is edging up to be one of the most tear-jerking events of the show. The return of the voting system, but with a twist. In a fleeting moment, we see the return of the voting system, with different people lined up in the X category and the O category, in order to decide if the game should continue. This whole mechanic has already been seen quite a few times in Season 1 and 2, so in Season 3, it's once again used as a central tool to reflect the tension between the desire for freedom and the temptation of money. However, this time there seem to be additional rules, as not all players were allowed to vote, which significantly alters the whole power dynamic. So what do you think would turn out to be the outcome of this voting round? In my opinion, if we look closely on this side, we can see players who had the blue O category sticker but still got the red ball. So keeping that in mind, the teams won't be based on the latest votes, but rather the ball you get from the gumball machine. Maybe only the players who receive the blue ball get to vote this time. Who knows? Gihan is in handcuffs, so after being brought out in a coffin to rejoin the games, Gihan is shown handcuffed to a bed in the player's lobby, which is honestly a powerful image that says a lot about where he stands now. He's technically still a part of the games, but after rebelling against the system, it seems like he's lost his right to vote. He's definitely allowed to play, but not to speak up or make decisions. It's also likely for Gihan to remain locked up during breaks between the games. This has probably been done to him by the frontman in order to make sure he doesn't organize yet another rebellion or try to interfere with the votes. This is quite a harsh reminder of how the system deals with those players who push back, not by kicking them out, but by tightening the chains. At this point, Gihan isn't just a player anymore, but he becomes a prisoner in plain sight, who's punished not with exile, but with silence, as he will only be released on the frontman's terms when it's time to play the games.
Squid Game. What an odd name.
The VIPs are back. Well, the VIPs are back, and they're just as twisted as ever. These wealthy elites who bankroll and watch the games for their own sick amusement return to witness the latest round of brutality with their usual mix of frivolous and morbid curiosity. We recognize these people as VIPs because they were all wearing animal masks and were sharing a dinner while being attended by servants. But the most interesting thing was that if you look closely, there's also a woman with an animal mask, which means there are also female VIPs, and this was something we never saw in the first season of the series. In another scene, we also see the detective entering a rather elegant area with a weapon, which definitely does not seem to be a place for the players, but most likely one of the rooms intended for the VIPs. Thus, we're up for a huge confrontation. Anyway, the presence of these VIPs once again drives home one of the show's core messages about how those at the top treat human suffering as entertainment, all while hiding behind masks and money. It will always be a sharp critique of power, inequality, and the way violence is turned into spectacle for those who can afford to stay detached. Player 246 might be alive. So, Player 246, whose fate was left up in the air last season, is officially confirmed to be alive. In the trailer, we see a machine gun scanning a man for vital signs, and sure enough, it registers that he's still breathing. This man is seen in a green uniform, and his ear has a tracker, just like Gihan did in the beginning. While we don't get to see his face directly, it's very noticeable by his hairstyle that he was indeed Gyeong-suk. It seemed like he was killed, but let's be real, we all suspect that he survived. His return raises all kinds of questions, especially since it now seems like someone inside the system may have secretly helped him survive. All signs point to guard number 11, Noul, who seems to be playing a key role in this. She's expected to have a bigger presence this season, and her emotional connection to Gyeong-suk's daughter could be the reason she chose to bend the rules and save Player 246. If this turns out to be true, it'll set up a powerful, unexpected alliance between a player and a guard. Noul, or Guard 11, might try to stop the games from the inside. So Guard number 11, aka Noul, looks like she's ready to take matters into her own hands, as different scenes within the trailer show her poring over maps, sneaking into restricted areas, and carefully avoiding the cameras, which seems to be a clear sign that she's plotting something big from the inside. Honestly, everything about her arc points to a potential rebellion against the system that keeps the games running. At one point, we even see her holding a lighter. If you look closely, she's standing in the same archive room that we saw back in Season 1, the one filled with records of all the past games. That small detail hints at the fact that she might be planning to burn all the records in order to wipe out anything that could be traced back to her or the people she was trying to protect, before they make their escape. In fact, there are even glimpses of her sneaking through some ventilation ducts. If you remember, Noul has had it rough before her bosses began doubting her loyalty to the games, and her fellow guards even attacked her to threaten her. So she's definitely trying to escape the island, or even betray the organization in order to destroy the ruthless dystopian games. There are also a few glimpses where we see that she's managed to get outside through the ventilation ducts, before reaching the outer part of the island. These also match the photographs that were released some time ago, and thus make it clear that she will get out of the game's building. In fact, I believe Noul might meet up with the detective and even help him get in. Detective Junho will finally reach the Squid Game Island. So, Detective Junho, who was almost killed before he went out on a crazy search for his brother at the end of Season 2, is getting closer than ever to uncovering the truth about the secret island. In the trailer, we catch glimpses of him sneaking into restricted areas, gathering evidence, and keeping a close eye on all the boats that were coming and going. That's really all the evidence I need to know for sure that he was still on the case, and not backing down. Moreover, the interesting thing is that we don't see him arriving with his boat or the team he gathered with Gihan's resources. Plus, if you remember, we discovered that the boat captain was a traitor at the end. So in that context, we can assume a battle broke out on the boat and perhaps only Junho survived, which is why we see him arriving in a diving suit. One especially tense moment shows him inside the VIP lounge, while being disguised as a staff member once again. That alone sets the stage for a major turning point as he sneaks right into the heart of the operation, possibly just steps away from the people running the whole thing. We also see him enter an elegant area with a weapon, which is possibly meant for the VIPs. So I think we're due for a rather massive blast. Will Hyunju make it out of Squid Game alive? In one of the trailer's most impactful sequences, Player 120, aka Hyunju, is seen ready for a hand-to-hand fight. We see that her stance, focused gaze, and determination somehow suggest that this confrontation is part of a new game. Whatever the context, the scene underscores the escalating brutality of the new season. Moreover, it's definitely possible that player 120 could have also died at the end of the Gumball Machine game, as she was on the blue team, meaning she could potentially have a tragic death. Min-soo might take down Nam-gyu, so Min-soo looks completely shattered in the trailer, as it looks like he's still haunted by the trauma he endured in Season 2. I think his cold, empty stare says it all, and many fans even think he will be out for revenge. There's a quick shot that hints at a tense moment between him and Nam-gyu, as some believe Min-soo might actually kill him, possibly as payback for causing his friend's death last season. If that's indeed true, we could be in for serious internal conflict among the players. What makes it even more intense is that player 124, aka Nam-gyu, ends up on the red team with Gi-hun. And according to the leaks, Nam-gyu might become quite chaotic this season because let's not forget, after Thanos died, Nam-gyu held onto his stash of drugs. That detail alone hints that he might spiral into chaos and thin out the competition himself by going on a killing spree. Can the birth of a new life change the ideology of the man who runs the games? At the very end of the trailer, there's a moment that quietly steals the spotlight with the sound of a baby's cry, which is subtle, almost easy to miss, but incredibly powerful. For many fans, it confirms something we had all along speculated about Junho, player 222, giving birth while the games were running. Back in Season 2, it was revealed she was pregnant with player 333's child, and even Gumja said she was in the last months of her pregnancy. With her giving birth in such a stressful environment, her child may finally become part of the story. This tiny, fragile presence could shift everything, because a newborn in the middle of such a brutal world introduces a whole new emotional layer, not just for Junho and the other players, but potentially for the game's organizers too. One theory that has been gaining traction is about the frontman. In Season 2, we learned that he lost his pregnant wife and couldn't save her due to his lack of money, which was a painful part of his past that had never been fully explored. But with Junho's baby now in the picture, that buried trauma might resurface, thus forcing him to control all the overwhelming emotions that he had spent years suppressing. I also believe this baby could be just the thing he needs in order to truly shake him. He's always been cold, methodical, fully committed to the system. But if that cry triggers even a moment of compassion or doubt, it could mark the beginning of a major shift, possibly even a breakdown in the very structure he enforces. So, in a way, the baby's soft cry at the trailer's close doesn't just hint at a new character, it symbolizes hope, tension, and the potential for redemption. In fact, it could become the emotional heartbeat of the season, pushing characters to make impossible choices in a world built on cruelty and control. But what are your theories about the final season of Squid Game? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment box below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.